Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just been so much going on in the silver market. I've been writing silver stock analyst for 10 years. And now this seems to be, a different time that we're in. And, now's the time to be vocal. You saw what happened with, GameStop and, with Reddit, the small investor pushed it up. And now the small investors are taking on, the big banks, and they're using silver as their platform.
Let's talk about what's happening in the SLV. You've been very vocal about it and your disdain for it. Um,
Mm,
how we're seeing tremendous inflows, but there's
mhm.
not enough physical to match what's happening. When does the truth come out?
Yeah. Well, you get the SLV ETF, right? And then you've got the PSLV ETF. The PSLV ETF is the Sprott product. It's actually a
Right.
closed-end fund. Anyone that owns the shares can convert into silver basically anytime they want. With the SLV, only authorized participants, basically major banks, can convert into silver. And SLV, a lot of times they don't actually own the shares. They own the paper that entitles them to the shares. So people are choosing the Sprott ETF over the SLV ETF in order to, get their silver allocation. And since the big run up happened on January 28th, the PSLV, the Sprott ETF, has outperformed the SLV by about
Yeah.
5%.
Right.
Because physicals, it's hard to find right now. In time it'll fill in, but it's hard. You look around, all the coin dealers got cleaned out. The coin dealers that have any inventory are selling it, at about $40. That's a 50% premium to the COMEX price right now. So, what I've been saying is that, the physical is driving the price more than COMEX right now. And I think, COMEX price is going to catch up. And regarding the COMEX, there's a lot of numbers that are thrown out there. Some are, more accurate than others, but the COMEX for the silver future, they have open interest. That's the number of contracts outstanding of 896 million ounces of silver. There's contracts covered 896 million ounces of silver versus inventory of only 397 million ounces. So if these people choose to take delivery on the silver, they could, wipe the inventory out. The reality of it is the chances of it happening is extremely, extremely small. It never happens. But it just shows you the imbalances in the silver market versus some of the other commodities. And then another thing with the silver futures market is it takes about 200 days to cover the basically open interest. 200 days of silver production to cover the open interest. With other commodities, it's about 10 days of production, such as corn and wheat and oil, the consumables. Versus silver, it'll take 200 days of silver production to cover that open interest. It's huge, and that's why the paper price, the COMEX price, has been lagging, because there's so much open interest out there, and there's so many banks that are playing the game. But along with that is, with banking and silver, bankers got a bank. When you have dollars, you put it in a bank. That's not an asset. That's a bank's liability. What do they do with those dollars? They loan them out, usually many times over. That's how banks make their money. They're doing the same thing with silver. JP Morgan's got a huge silver vault. They have all the silver in it that is a liability of theirs, and then they loan it out. So there's a whole, derivative chain attached to it that, maybe someday we'll find out more about.
I asked Ted Butler this question. I asked Keith Newmeyer this question. I want to ask you now. And you've said it. You've said this is the most rigged market you've dealt in, silver.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why be in it then? And how do you
Yeah,
use that to your advantage?
yeah, I don't love conspiracy theories. I prefer conspiracy facts, and I like facts and data. Do a lot of quantitative stuff. If you shorted you shorted a silver contract when the New York COMEX opened, and you covered it when New York COMEX closed, and then got long
Yeah.
overnight, and then got short again the next day, you would have made 100,000% since 1970. Natural markets don't trade like that. There's no system that you can, find. And then along with that, in 1980, silver traded up to 50. Its average price was around $20, back in 1980. It's 2021. It's 41 years later, and the price of silver hasn't moved. That's insane. There isn't anything out there where the price of, of any asset hasn't moved. A bottle of Coke in 1980 was 25 cents. Now it's whatever, $2. But, silver is one of the cheapest assets on the planet.
So then how do you make the case for millennials who are looking at, Bitcoin, as we speak now, over 50,000,
Yeah.
and we're looking at silver, it
Yeah,
can't even
yeah.
hold $30. How do
Yeah,
you make
no,
the case for
I'm there. I
silver?
was an early Bitcoin investor as well. I bought Bitcoin at
I
$20.
know.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it did, did great. And, I like Bitcoin because it appeals to that, the hard money, money, you can't expand it exponentially. But I tell you what's going to happen to Bitcoin is the beauty of Bitcoin is it's outside the system. And the value of Bitcoin is the inverse of the belief in the US government and the US economic policy and the US dollar. So, the lower that goes, the higher Bitcoin will go. But what's happening now is big custodians like BNY Mellon are coming in to the game, and they can take custody of your Bitcoin. If a lot of Bitcoin is stored at these custodians, they're going to do the same thing in Bitcoin as what they did to silver. They're going to have the Bitcoin, and they say in crypto, not your keys, not your crypto. They're going to combine it all. They're going to loan out the Bitcoin. They're going to create Bitcoin derivatives. The supply is going to increase on paper tremendously, and then the magic will be gone. So, I see.
So you're calling it a bubble?
Um, I don't know. I don't necessarily see it as a bubble. I just see it as a way to get out of the system, the dollar system, and it just shows the demand for that. And if you look at charts, you show Germany and you show the hyperinflation charts of the German Deutschmark, going lower, and the value of assets going skyrocket. That's what Bitcoin's showing you right now. It just shows the belief, the inverse of the belief in the U.S. system and the U.S. dollar system.